The United States Air Force just launched one of the most advanced search and rescue platforms within its arsenal to bail out a crew member trapped inside an active war zone. The aircraft in question, the HC-130J Combat King II, was captured on video by locals as it flew low over the ground. Its objective was to find the missing crew member of a recently downed F-15E Strike Eagle fighter, presumably struck by direct fire over southern Iran. 2 airmen were on board the craft. The captain was rescued not long after the crash, yet the second member, a colonel, was, as President Donald Trump described, quote, behind enemy lines in the treacherous mountains of Iran, being hunted down by our enemies, who were getting closer and closer by the hour. According to experts, the standard Air Force Combat Search and Rescue, or CSAR package, includes a set of H-860 helicopters, accompanied by A-10 Warthog attack aircraft for protection, and HC-130 units. These latter aircraft are arguably some of the most versatile. The HC-130J, seen in the videos flying over Iran, can serve as a mid-air refueling platform. Equipped with twin retractable refueling pods installed in external tanks under each wing, the aircraft can serve up to 2 helicopters simultaneously, even in low light conditions and with minimal communication. However, if the mission suddenly calls for additional support in scanning the ground, the HC-130J can just as easily turn into the ultimate eye in the sky. Equipped with forward-looking infrared cameras, the aircraft can locate objects emitting heat, such as personnel or downed engines across the field, even when visibility is reduced by haze or crews are operating in total darkness. Because these systems do not emit radiation like traditional radar, they are especially useful for high-stakes operations over enemy territory. And target tracking is not the only application the HC-130J provides for infrared systems. Boasting a defense system known as the Large Aircraft Infrared Countermeasures, or LAIRCM, the aircraft is equipped with multiple sensors around the fuselage that allow crews to spot incoming short-range missiles. Once a threat is detected, the system fires a laser that disrupts the missile's heat seeker, leaving it unable to track its target and causing it to detonate far from its fuselage. It's thanks to this infrared shield that HC-130J units are able to fly so low over enemy territory while searching for downed pilots without being taken out themselves. Of course, there are still considerable risks when undertaking a mission like this, which is why crews tend to operate at night. In fact, the HC-130J is designed to optimize missions in which crews can't see a thing through the canopy, relying solely on electronic navigation systems and night vision goggles to spot targets and maintain specialized flight patterns to avoid detection. According to an Air Force search and rescue pilot interviewed by Business Insider, quote, "Darkest of dark nights, this is still pretty intense and pretty scary. Doing this in full moonlight would still be risky. It's sort of terrifying to go like, let's just go fly in broad daylight into the middle of a country that's at war with us." Still, with the clock ticking and the chances of Iranian forces finding the downed American airmen increasing by the second, there was no time to wait for perfect conditions to deploy the HC-130Js into the scene. Their LAIRCM systems were about to be put to the ultimate test. While details are still scarce about how the colonel was ultimately rescued, officials have reported that the airman was stranded in Iran for over 24 hours, hiking across mountainous terrain to reach a higher position, and most likely establish a communication link to report his location back to command. After the rescue was confirmed, President Trump described the mission as, quote, "one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history." So far, there have been no reports of personnel casualties or HC-130Js being shot down, suggesting that, despite their dangerous patrols over Iran, either the crew successfully avoided threat zones or the aircraft's defense systems held firm under potential enemy fire. One of the most secretive aircraft in America's arsenal has just taken off in plain sight. Officially known as the NT-43A, but more commonly referred to by the call sign Rat-55, the jet is a heavily modified version of the Boeing T-43, a model once used to train U.S. Air Force combat systems officers. It's rarely seen, typically operating near Area 51 and other notoriously secretive facilities, such as Edwards Air Force Base and Tonopah Test Range Airport. Yet in late March, observers caught one of the clearest glimpses of it in action as it flew over Melbourne on Florida's East Coast. There were no official announcements about its deployment, but the aircraft is hard to miss. With its long nose and huge radome sticking out from the back, it stood out almost as soon as it arrived. Before long, people on the ground were already sharing photos of it flying overhead, wondering what this secretive aircraft was doing there. Around the same time Rat-55 began appearing in the area, an aircraft using the call sign NASA 522 showed up on online flight trackers at the same location. More intriguingly, its flight patterns revealed it was patrolling near Merritt Island, where preparations for the Artemis II lunar mission were underway. Back in 2001, the aircraft was designed as a flying laboratory, allowing researchers to closely observe aircraft coated with radar-absorbing materials and experimental stealth technologies in order to assess their effectiveness under real flight conditions. To do this, Rat-55 is equipped with advanced sensors that can pick up infrared energy from different angles around its target. According to military tech experts, these systems are powerful enough that the aircraft can approach from almost any direction and still collect accurate data. What really makes Rat-55 stand out, though, are the two large radar arrays mounted at the front and rear of the aircraft, which are believed capable of producing incredibly detailed radar imagery. This quickly led many to believe that Rat-55 was emerging from the shadows to support Artemis II, the first mission to leave Earth's orbit since 1972. For this, the aircraft would serve as an advanced airborne tracking and data collection platform by reporting critical information such as speed, position, and system performance, filling gaps that ground-based stations could not cover as the rocket moved farther away. As journalists began searching for answers, an Air Force spokesperson revealed, quote, "After decades of flights supporting the Air Force in various roles, the NT-43A radar testbed is being transitioned to start the next phase of its career. Beginning with data collection during the upcoming Artemis II launch, the NT-43A radar testbed will continue its legacy of excellence in supporting some of our nation's most important and technologically advanced capabilities." Online flight tracking data showed that the aircraft remained airborne during the launch. However, neither the Air Force nor NASA has provided further details on its exact role, leaving analysts to guess based on the aircraft's known capabilities and the equipment observed during its recent flights. It has been noted that for the mission, Rat-55 was fitted with an electro-optical infrared turret mounted along the upper fuselage. This suggests the aircraft may have also captured visual and thermal imagery of the rocket during its ascent into space. There are no official reports on Rat-55's next mission, but if the aircraft is indeed entering a new chapter supporting NASA operations, the public may begin seeing it more frequently, especially as the space agency continues launching new missions in preparation for getting astronauts back on the moon and eventually establishing a permanent presence on the lunar surface. The US could have significantly escalated its military campaign against Iran by deploying a new type of weapon on the battlefield. According to Iranian sources, in late March, American forces dropped a series of mines via aircraft near the city of Shiraz and the small village of Kafari, located in the southwest region of the country. Analysts have noted that these areas are situated near one of Iran's so-called missile cities, patches of rugged terrain where weapons are stored, transported, and launched from underground facilities. America has been conducting traditional airstrikes on tunnel entrances and mobile launchers across these types of facilities with 5,000-pound penetrator bombs, which, according to Pentagon officials, quote, are bespokely designed to get through concrete and/or rocks and function after penetrating those barriers. Still, as of early April, these facilities are still serving the regime, forcing the US to look for a different strategy. By mining the immediate land around weapon facilities, the US would make it extremely difficult for the Iranians to bring equipment in and out of them, and could significantly reduce missile launch locations. Images shared by the Iranians showcase the alleged American munitions dropped over Iran. According to Tasnim news agency, quote, "These explosive packages resemble ready-made canned food, are somewhat larger than tuna cans, and contain explosives that detonate after being opened." A closer analysis of the munitions reveals they all have the markings of mines deployed by the American Gator system. Circular, flat, a little under 6 inches wide. Some are also surrounded by a box-like aeroballistic adapter to help them remain stable during descent and soften the impact upon hitting the ground. Developed in the 1980s for deployment by air systems flying between 330 and 3,900 feet above the ground, these can be used by a wide range of U.S. combat aircraft, including the F-15E Strike Eagle and F-16 Fighting Falcon, which are currently operating in the region. This also wouldn't be the first time America has used the Gator system in the Middle East. During the Gulf War, it was reported that over 100,000 of these mines were deployed across the battlefield. For that conflict, however, the US was known to have used a mix of diverse munitions. There are two main categories of Gator mines: the BLU-91Bs, used primarily for anti-vehicle attack, and the BLU-92Bs, which were employed to target personnel. So far, the images shared by the Iranians show only the type of mine used against vehicles, which some have proposed could have been a measure to help mitigate the risk to civilians. Still, these anti-tank mines pose considerable threats to those around them. Canadian journalist Dimitri Lascaris, who traveled to the area affected by the mines, reported that people were instructed to keep their phones on airplane mode, as they were told these could activate the munitions. Moreover, even if left undisturbed, there's still a considerable risk that these mines will detonate, as they can be programmed to self-destruct after a preset time, ranging from 4 hours to 15 days. While it's been noted that it remains impossible to verify if the mines shown in the pictures are indeed American Gator mines, analysts have pointed out that neither Israel nor Iran is known to possess this type of munition in their arsenals. Still, no one's ready to declare that these mines definitely came from America. In some circles, there's quiet talk about an entirely different explanation, with some suggesting Iran has somehow managed to create copycat or dummy versions of these mines, deploying them across its own territory to serve as anti-American propaganda. China may just be about to unleash its largest ship to date, the Type 4. This is a 120-ton carrier, which some suspect could be 1,100 feet long, competing with even some of the most advanced ships in America's fleet. More worrisome for U.S. defense officials, however, is that according to early reports, these new People's Liberation Army Navy agents could have a virtually unlimited range. Alarms had already gone off last year when it was announced that China had officially commissioned its third aircraft carrier, the Fujian. The ship comes at 1,036 feet long and is able to host an air wing of over 50 aircraft, which, according to a recent Pentagon report, could likely include, quote, the J-35 stealth fighter, J-157 fighter jet, J-15D electronic warfare aircraft, Z-20 helicopter, KJ-600 early warning aircraft, and various unmanned aerial vehicles. That same security report stated that China is preparing to build another 6 aircraft carriers by 2035, which, as journalist and former U.S. Special Forces agent Steve Ballestieri has noted, would represent the largest naval buildup in the region since World War II, tripling the size of China's current carrier force. What the Pentagon report does not fully disclose, however, are the propulsion upgrades China plans to implement on board its upcoming vessels. While Fujian relies on a traditional propulsion system, which gives her enough range to reach the U.S. west coast from China without refueling, the next PLAN carrier is presumed to be able to sail indefinitely, based on clues gathered from images of the construction site. The vessel was spotted late last year at a shipyard located in the northern province. While images show it's still in its early stages of construction, naval experts have noted that as its structure takes shape, it appears to be designed to accommodate a nuclear reactor. The telltale sign is a compact cubic structure being installed in what's believed to become the ship's lower level, not too far from its center, which could be intended as a nuclear shielding compartment, similar to those found in American models, such as the Ford-class carriers. China already operates nuclear-powered submarines, like the Type 94, capable of displacing up to 11,000 tons and carrying up to a dozen nuclear-armed ballistic missiles. But a nuclear-powered carrier, capable of transporting over 90 aircraft across the globe, would open new possibilities for the country. According to the Pentagon, the new generation of Chinese vessels could, quote, increase the striking power of a potential PLAN carrier battle group when deployed to areas beyond the PRC's immediate periphery. Moreover, if the nation does succeed in deploying a nuclear-powered carrier, it could generate enough energy at sea to power a wide array of new onboard systems, such as more advanced radar, aggressive electronic warfare equipment, and perhaps even directed energy weapons, such as lasers, to protect against air-based attacks. Still, not everyone is convinced China is ready to launch a nuclear carrier in the near future. Some experts have pointed out that it's unlikely the country can assemble a reactor that's both compact enough to fit inside the ship's lower compartments and powerful enough to run all its systems at once. To some, the mysterious structure taking shape aboard the vessel could be nothing more than a demonstration. It's also possible that the ship being assembled is not even the Type 4 at all. Some other analysts are not as optimistic. They point out that even without a functioning nuclear reactor, China's naval capabilities should not be underestimated. While a carrier with unlimited range would undoubtedly be more valuable for global operations, in a regional conflict, China wouldn't need to send ships thousands of miles from the mainland. It would simply need enough power to counter its adversaries. And in that aspect, China's current carriers will likely not disappoint.